Welcome to the Spheres of Spirit with Nancy Myers, aka the Lady of the Light. Nancy will discuss the everyday magic and wisdom of spirit which surrounds each of us, waiting to be discovered. She will share some of her remarkable orb photos, proving that our angels, guides, loved ones in spirit, and even pets surround us and guide us in our physical world. During this episode, Nancy will discuss one of the many spheres or aspects of spirit available to us based on her orb photography. She will also share a special channeled message from her guide, Leonini, and do an oracle card reading to help guide you along your personal spiritual adventure. And now, here is your host, orb photographer, author, medium, and speaker, Nancy Myers.
Hi, thanks for joining me today. I'm really excited about this show today, so I want to get right into it. I recently got back from a trip to the Northeast of the United States. I have always wanted to go back to the Northeast. I have never been to that part of our country, and I told my husband, let's go for the fall leaves. And he said, "This isn't going to be a spiritual tour, right?" Because he's he's patient with me, but he gets his fill with me with the spirit stuff. And I said, "No, no, no. This is our vacation, and we're just going to enjoy it." No, spirit had other things in mind. So let me tell you kind of how it all started. So one of the things that you obviously do when you're back in the Northeast is you are pretty much immersed in U.S. history, early history. No matter where you go, there's something going on there. And one of the places that we wanted to go to, or I wanted to go to too, was Gettysburg. That's so much history, and so much of it has been preserved. I've been there once before, probably about maybe 40 years ago. But that was way before my spiritual path. And I thought, okay, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. Well, we did kind of our own little walking tour one night, and we ended up at the National Cemetery. And I got to tell you, Gettysburg has done just a beautiful job of preserving and making it easy to understand and taking care of the sites and the monuments. It was quite impressive. And excuse me, I brought back a cold to travel, and I do have a cough drop in my mouth, and hopefully it will keep me from coughing. But anyway, so I'm taking pictures right at sunset, and I stopped, and all of a sudden I threw my camera to my husband, and I said, "I'm going to stand here by this cannon. Could you take my picture?" So Chris, can we bring up that first photo? And I look very like I'm standing in fall, which is really perfect for the time of the year. The leaves were spectacular, by the way. We timed it just right. But something told me to stop and take a picture there. And so I'm standing there, and I've got to tell you, even I could feel the heaviness. I could feel the solemnness of everything there. And one of the reasons why I wanted to go to this cemetery is because in the cemetery is the spot where Abraham Lincoln actually stood to deliver the Gettysburg Address. And I wanted to go there, and I wanted to stand in his spot and look and see what he saw and see what he felt. And I almost burst into tears. I mean, it was just, well, you know the story of Gettysburg. But anyway, so I had my husband take this picture, and he caught a little bit of the dedication monument there to this particular artillery brigade. And I didn't see the orb until I got home. So Chris, if we can bring up that second picture, because I zoomed in on it. Now, this might be a little bit difficult for you to see, but there is a face of a gentleman there, and I haven't had time to really delve into this, if he's associated with this particular brigade, if he was a commander, but he's dressed very like the Civil War era. He has a high collar. His hair is combed in a particular way. He has a mustache. And really, this was the only face that I captured in Gettysburg. But I did want to share that with you. And if I do find out who this is, if I can find his picture and identify him, I will share that on my Facebook page with you. So that's kind of how our tour started. So, my husband said, "Are we done doing spirit stuff now?" And I said, "Yeah, we're done." So, the, next place, or one of the next places that we went to, was Boston. And, the Boston was home to the Tea Party, and again, it's, steeped in US history. I have to tell you something here. I'm gonna pause, and I'm gonna tell you about me and my little group that, I'm a part of. Probably now for, oh gosh, 5 or 6 years. Once a week, I meet with these amazing mediums and channel, and we have a circle, a practice circle, a channel circle, whatever you wanna call it. And we either practice our mediumship or we open ourselves up to channeling. Channeling who is the question. It's always done from the highest good and for the highest good, so we always do our protection. But with me, probably about 3 years ago, maybe 4, um, I started channeling famous people from the past. Um, there always seemed to be a connection somehow to the group, but, people included, like Amelia Earhart, Betsy Ross. Um, I just recently channeled Robin Williams, and what a treat that was. I channeled the guy who invented the hot dog for the baseball game. But anyway, so I never know who I'm going to get. But so anyway, I have probably over 30 or 40 of these channelings that I've done. And they always come in and give us a message from their perspective, from their life's experience, and now from their divine perspective, to help us. And so one day I'm going to do a book, and I'm going to put them all in the book. And I promise you it's going to be pretty interesting. But anyway, so with that in mind, let me then continue my discussion and my visit to Boston. And so we get to Boston, and one of the things that everybody said you have to do was you have to jump on the trolley, the hop on, hop off trolley, and take a tour of the city. And so we did that, and we're driving around, and out of the blue, the bus driver said, "Oh, and in that house over there is where Harriet Tubman met," I think his name was John Adams, "and some abolitionists to help the cause." And I got this chill through me. And why was the chill? Because I had channeled Harriet Tubman. So I want to read the message that Harriet Tubman told our group. A lot of times the messages are uplifting and fun and light, and Harriet Tubman's was a bit more serious, but when you consider what she did, it kind of makes sense. So here, now I'm just going to read you part of their messages. I'm not going to read you the whole channeling. It would take way too long. So here's the meat and potatoes, if you will, of her message. So I'm kind of starting in the middle, but you'll get the gist of it. "This is complete surrender when you are asked to step up and trust in your destiny. It is not an easy thing to do, but if you are to fill," this is Harriet Tubman speaking, "but if you are to fulfill your own destiny, you must completely surrender, literally give up your life if necessary. Not that this will be asked of you, but that is the level of commitment that it takes. I led people to freedom. The spiritual light workers, such as yourself today, will lead people to a new kind of freedom. There will be pitfalls along the way. There will be some danger along the way. There will be hounds nipping at your heels sometimes. And sometimes the pain, excuse me, but the There will sometimes be pain, but the reward makes it all worthwhile. You have come here to make and lead your own railroad, but do not hide it because this is not an underground railroad. Bring it to the light. Call to the others to join. Pull on that train whistle. Make your announcement and keep going. This is why you are here at this exact time. I could have stopped. I could have turned the other way and stayed safe by my fireplace, but I couldn't live with myself if I had done that. Don't stay safe. We thank you from this side. We are, we are with you, and we too will help light the way. And I went, so that's a pretty powerful message. It's pretty serious, but what she's telling us is if you're going to do this, don't do it haphazardly. Do it with all commitment. So what was the connection to our channeling circle? Harriet Tubman is a guide to one of the participants. So I'll tell you the connection as we go along. So the next place that I want to talk about, and I don't have pictures because I was not allowed to take a picture. But I found myself when we were going around Boston to check all the places, I told my husband, I said, oh, I can go tour Louisa May Alcott's home. Louisa May Alcott, of course, wrote Little Women. And I have to tell you, when we were there in Boston, it was utterly packed. Everything was sold out. There was a big cruise liner that came in. So there was thousands of people that all of a sudden got dumped into the city. The leafers, they call us, who come and see the leaves, were hitting record levels of tourism. And so it was really difficult to get tickets and to get into anything. And so when I told my husband what I wanted to do, he goes, okay, I'll go, but I don't know if you're going to get in. So he said, I'm going to wait in the car. So we parked. Of course, I got a parking spot right up front. And I walk up to the one of the docents and I said, can I just go into the house and look? And she goes, no, you have to go on the tour. And I go, are you sold out? And she goes, you know what? She goes, the last group just walked in front of you. It was a group of 5. She goes, I think if you go in, you will get the last ticket. And I did. And so I got the last ticket and the tour was wonderful. Everything's original. I stood behind her little desk looking out her bedroom window where she wrote Little Women. It was just utterly fantastic. So what's the connection there? Did I feel her? I did, but I was not allowed to take pictures. Louisa May Alcott is a guide to another participant in my little channeling circle. But that's not where the connection stops. So what I found out is that the 2 dear friends and neighbors of the Alcotts were Ralph Waldo Emerson and Henry David Thoreau. They, I found out at the tour, were transcendentalists. What is a transcendentalist? Transcendentalist was a 19th century movement of writers and philosophers who were loosely bound together by an idealistic system of thought based on a belief in the essential unity of all creation, the innate goodness of humanity, and the supremacy of insight over logic and experience. In their religious quest, transcendentalists rejected the conventional thought of the current time, and they were leaders in experimental schemes for living, like women's suffrage, better conditions for workers, temperance for all, modifications of dress and diet, the rise of free religion, educational innovation, and humanitarian causes. But the big thing was that they believed that you reached divinity, you reached the divine through nature or with nature. David Thoreau, it is said, and Louisa May Alcott adored him. He could walk out into his, and it's still very wooded and still very rural and rugged. And she said she witnessed him feeding the animals out of his hand. The wild animals would just come up to him. And I'm so very special person. Well, this transcendentalist movement started out, as I said, with a group of writers. One of the writers that was a member of this group was Walt Whitman. And just so happens that I channeled Walt Whitman. You see the bigger thing at play here? It's like spirit pulled this whole thing together. So, and if you wonder, the transcendentalists did have something to do with transcendental meditation, but I wanted to do the nature side of it. So I wanted to read you again a portion of my channeling with Walt Whitman. And again, I'm going to kind of start in the middle, but this is from his perspective on the other side and his talents that he had while he was incarnated. So he said, and they always address our group, but these messages are for everyone. He said, you all, with your work, have made a commitment to serve spirit, but it takes you all. It takes your trust. It takes courage to do what you do. Not everyone understood my work or my humor, but I was okay with that. Just as not everyone understands what you do and how you help heal. Boy, we can attest to that as light workers, right? And spiritualists are right in this world today. But you do, and that's all that matters. You work for an audience of one, spirit. And it is through your commitment and courage that will affect change, real change. Be patient. It won't happen overnight, as you well know. Be brave and support each other. You have no idea the army that helps you, each on this side. We are rooting for you. There will be times when things come to you that seem almost impossible, but know that is our link to you. Kind of on the coattails of Miss Tubman's message, a little gentler. But I didn't understand why he said not everyone understood my humor, and I did have to look that up. And he was known for his kind of self-deprecating humor. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you, Walt Whitman. Now, what a connection here, Walt Whitman. I went to Louisa May Alcott's because I did know that my channel mate was it was her guide. I had no idea Walt Whitman was going to have that connection too. So anyway, so then we're back to Boston. You know, we've toured around and then we come back into Boston, and we're actually in Boston Commons. We stayed right in the middle. And I walk out of the hotel, and I'm going to talk about the synchronicities at our hotel in a minute. And right across the street in my line of sight is Benjamin Franklin, a statue right in front of I think could have been the city hall and it was a beautiful statue. And I went, wow. And so I walked across the street and I read it. And I did not know that Ben Franklin was born in Boston. His parents were there and pretty prominent, evidently. Yeah, I channeled Benjamin Franklin too. And this message is really special. And I want to read this message to you. I've actually channeled Benjamin Franklin twice. I will tell you this, the first time that I channeled Benjamin Franklin, he rewrote through me the Declaration of Independence. And I will share that when I do my book. But it was incredible. But this was the second time that I channeled Benjamin Franklin. And he talked about, and I didn't know this, his work at the printing press and his club called, I think they called them the Leather Aprons. I didn't know any of this. So it was a totally different message. So this is the one that I want to share with you now. You all are now typesetters. Oh, and below the statue of Benjamin Franklin, when you face the front, the plaque underneath depicted his time in the print shop. So synchronicities amaze me. So let me start over. You are now the typesetters. You set the type. You determine the words. You determine the future. This is a press of the future. This is what you are capable of. You just don't know it yet. Your actions, and not just those in this group, your actions, humanity's actions at this time, set the type for the future. This is a pivotal moment. There can be great change. There is opportunity like never before, but you must set the type carefully. You must all work together. What good is a paper if no one sees it? You must develop the network with each other for the greatest good available. Papers are judged by the circulation. You have the ability to have circulation worldwide. Be mindful of the print that you read. Don't let it take you off course. Do not be in a hurry, but there is an urgency. Check for mistakes. These can be easily corrected. Remember the power of the printing press? It changed the world, and your printing press of today can do the same. Do not despair. There is a multitude on this side assisting you. We hear your prayers. We are with you, and remember that the greatest power is always love. That's one of the most powerful channelings. I have goosebumps every time I read that. That was one of the most powerful channelings that I've ever done, and it always moves me. Um, I hope you understood it, and I hope you liked it. So let's see. Do I have time for this story? Yeah, I do. Okay. So so we're back around touring. I'm going to jump back a little bit because before we got into Boston, my husband and I were up in Maine. And while we were in Maine, I told my husband, "I've got to get to a lighthouse." And he looks at me and goes, "Well, okay, we'll go find a lighthouse." So we found the only lighthouse that was accessible where you could go up into it. And so we drove for maybe an hour or so, and we found the lighthouse, and it was just gorgeous. The lighthouse was called the Pemaquid Lighthouse, and it was built in the 1830s. And if we can bring up that oh, you know what? Let me back up once. Go ahead and bring up the next picture. That's the picture, I'm sorry, I forgot to show you. That's the picture of the Ben Franklin statue with the, depiction of him working in the printer's office. So if we can go to the next picture. Sorry, I got so wrapped up in my story, I forgot. This is the picture of the lighthouse that I wanted to share with you, because you see the lighthouse there, but down in front, and we arrived, of course, at the perfect time. It was low tide, and these are the rocks. They probably went on for, oh, I don't know, 50, 75 yards right down into the water. And they were like um, um, grooved. And in those grooves were streaks of quartz crystal. And I'm walking around and I'm going, "Wow, this is crazy." And even my husband, he goes, "I'm gonna sit here for a while," he said, "and meditate." And I said, "Okay." So after I wandered around a little bit, I walked it back up to the lighthouse, and they have this little tiny museum in there, and I was looking at all the stuff that they had, and pretty soon it was just me and the docent of the museum, who was just an old sea dog. I mean, you can tell he had been around for a long time, working on this lighthouse, and I wasn't asking him any questions, and all of a sudden my eyes make contact with him. And he goes, this is a vortex. And I said, what? He goes, do you know what a vortex is? And I go, oh yeah, I know what a vortex is. He said, that's those rocks down there. This is an old sea dog. The guy must have been 80 years old. He said, there's quartz crystal in there. And he said, when you walk down there, he goes, you can feel the energy. And he said, one of those rocks broke in half and you walk on that. And he goes, you can feel the energy around you. He said, it healed me. And I'm just looking at him like, I did not expect this from him. And then the funniest thing he said was, we don't advertise this. He goes, because we don't want those kind of people here. And I thought, well, too late. You just told me the cat's out of the bag. But again, it's like, okay, we needed to know about this spot for whatever reason. And maybe it'll come out at a later time. It is a very powerful spot. Is it an unknown vortex that we need to go and sit with and enjoy the energy, or utilize it to our best ability? Yeah, maybe it's the time. Whatever possessed that old sea dog to just blurt this out to me when I was the only one in the museum. I don't know, other than I think spirit again is working behind the scenes, those sneaky little guys. Again, I said this wasn't going to be a spiritual tour, but everywhere I went, something like this happened. But he was just amazing. And then I walked out and did some other things, and I thought of some questions to ask him, and I go back and he was gone. So I couldn't ask him. But just amazing coinky dinks, right? As my friend says. Okay, so let's take a little break here. I have still some amazing stories and channelings to share with you. So we'll be right back.
Times TV. The story told in Entering the Light Fantastic, Discovering Life After Life Through Orbs, is about Nancy Meyer's spiritual and emotional rising from the devastating ashes of loss caused by the sudden and unexpected passing of her son Robbie. Just like the legend of the reborn phoenix, Nancy's life purpose and focus was transformed. With the help from her son in spirit, Nancy found herself providing proof through orbs that our souls do not die with our bodies. In her second book, Encircled by the Light Fantastic, A Deeper Journey into the Light with Orbs, Nancy continues chronicling her path of gaining spiritual knowledge and expanding acceptance of what is possible, while traveling to many sacred and ancient sites around the world. She shares these experiences with you along with her photographs of remarkable spirit encounters. Imagine becoming a super influencer. Reinvent yourself, invest in your brand, and then manifest your success with a robust spheric approach. Times Media and Broadcasting offers a unique and multifaceted way to become the spiritual and conscious influencer you deserve to be by putting your message across our powerful platform with its proven record of integrity and excellence. Through our produced shows, Times offers the opportunity to become a social media TV personality, a radio show host, an Times magazine columnist, and a syndicated podcaster, all in one shot. By live streaming your show on Times TV and broadcasting it across the extensive Times radio and TV networks, you become more than a host. You become an ambassador and a force for positive change. Times. Open yourself to the possibilities.
¿Qué color? Perfecto, mijo. Gracias. Thank you. What's wrong, mijo?
Donating to a pet's medical care is one of the many ways you can help families in your community. Pets and people belong together. Learn more at petsandpeopletogether.org.
And we're back. And I'm back in Boston. So one of the things that we wanted to go see while in Boston, of course, we went to see the site of the Tea Party. It was sold out, we couldn't get in. But we went to the Navy Yard because the USS Constitution was there, the original, refurbished and we could walk around. I thought that I would get a lot of orbs and things on there. I did not. I don't know if it's because it was so busy. Again, everything was jam-packed. Well, sitting kind of away, maybe at a 10 o'clock from the U.S. Constitution in another part of the shipyard was the destroyer. And you could go on to the destroyer. And my husband said, "Can we go there?" And I go, "Absolutely, let's go there." It was the destroyer. It was the USS Cassin Young. And so you could climb on the ship, and walk into many of the rooms and touch the cannons and the guns, not cannons, um, whatever those things are, the guns. And so we're walking around and we're standing there, and it wasn't a tour, it was a self-guided tour, but they have volunteers who kind of help people or, watch the ship, make sure no one's doing anything funny. And this older gentleman comes up to me and he said, "Do you have any questions?" And I said, "Yeah." So I started asking him my questions, and his information was incredible. But the part that I want to share with you is we're walking around slowly around the destroyer on the main deck, and all of a sudden I stopped and I got this weird feeling. And I looked at him and I said, "Was this ship ever damaged in battle?" And he looked at me and he goes, "Yes, in fact, on the very spot that you're standing." And then he proceeded to tell us that this was the ship that was hit by the last kamikaze pilot of Japan. And it went right through the deck, right where I was standing. Of course, the kamikaze pilot was killed. Oh, I have goosebumps. And but it hit at such a place on the ship that they were able to manage the damage. It didn't sink the ship, it didn't kill anybody. But, the guy kind of looked at me funny, like, "How did you know that?" And we're walking away, and my husband said, "I thought you said no spirit stuff." And I said, I didn't do that on purpose, and I didn't tell him why I was feeling that. But I just wanted to share that story with you. So now we're back in Boston, and we're at our hotel, which was the Omni Parker House. And the Omni Parker House is the longest continuously operating hotel in the United States. It was built in 1855. It's opulent. You can just, when you walk in there, you can feel like in the days of old when people would dress, and go to meals or have their parties. And, it was just stepping back in time. It has hosted people such as Ulysses S. Grant, um, m- famous members of the literary um, clubs. And one of the things that I didn't know is Charles Dickens gave his first public reading or American reading of his Christmas Carol. Well, I also found out because I went down to the lobby one day to get some information, and I picked up this pamphlet and it says Ghost Encounters, right? And it told me that Charles Dickens was a longtime resident of of the Parker House. He stayed on the third floor, and he was known for his big love of whiskey and his cigars. So people will report that they smell whiskey and or even cigar smoke. So guess what floor we're staying on? Number 3, right around the corner from where Charles Dickens stayed. Did I channel Charles Dickens? Yes, I did. And I want to share his message with you. His too is tied in from who we know him as when he walked this earth and his perspective now being on the other side. So I'm going to kind of again jump in the middle, but you will understand. Tonight I want to take you in time. I want to show you what is possible, what is probable, and what is hopeful. You have the power within you to rewrite the future also. If humankind loses its footing, its anchor, it will be as if you're standing at my grave with me, with the hooded ghost next to you, pointing a finger, letting you know that this would be the worst possible outcome. But if you make the choice and you do the work, you carry the torch, the lanterns, the light forward. That darkness will dissipate. The future will become brighter. And that scene in The Ghost of Christmas Present, ooh, I have goosebumps. He was filled, excuse me, he was filled with love and joy. And that is what awaits all those who believe in the greatest of all powers, love. You have all been visited by the ghost of Christmas past, and you have all had sad memories, trying experiences, loneliness, loss. But that has shaped you. It was meant to teach you the contrasting emotions and to teach you of your strength. You carry those ghosts within you, but the most powerful is the present. We call that the power of now. I will help you in any way I can, but I am grateful that you can and are doing the work, that you are doing it unmasks, that you do not have to camouflage, and we on this side walk beside you. So what he was telling me in this message, number one, and it's similar to Ben Franklin, it's we can change the future. But he was comparing his experience because Charles Dickens, I have been told, time traveled. That's where he got the idea to write A Christmas Carol, but he could not come out at the time and tell people that he had time traveled. They wouldn't have believed him. And so he held a lot of this in. He had to mask it. Like he said, we can do it unmasked. And I think because he had to hold so much of this information in, maybe that's why he drank so much, just to cope, kind of self-medicating. But I did take a picture right across or right down the hall. His door was just there. And if we can bring that picture up, Chris, and there it is. Now I can see a face in there, and I believe it is Charles Dickens. I'm not going to zoom in or outline it because this is one where I had to use my spirit's vision. But please just trust me, that's his door. And I took pictures all over the hotel, and this was the only blue orb that I got. In fact, this is one of the few orbs. I think I only got 2 orbs the whole time we were there. So why did spirit contrive this? Why am all of a sudden I'm meeting these people that I had channeled? Because I think they wanted me, thank you, Chris. I think they wanted me to walk in their energy, if you will, to visit their time, to get to know them a little bit better. I had no idea that I was going to be meeting all these people or be in their history, if you will, on this trip with my husband to see the leaves. I just didn't think that was going to happen. Now, I want to tell you something. Through these podcasts and through this podcast experience, I've taken you through many spheres of spirit. Of course, orbs, signs, animals, spirit guides, dreams, sacred geometry, fairies, ancient sites, frequency, color, faces, symbols, the Holy Family, angels, UFOs, energy healing, numerology, astrology, ghosts, intuition, symbols, crystals, dragons, and more. And that's not naming everything. Today is my last show, my 57th show, at least for a little while. And in closing, I would like to read an excerpt from my second book. So bear with me. But first, I'm going to read in that book I do have a message from Leonini, and I published it in my book, but I want to share it with you, and then I'll read the excerpt after this. So, on this particular message, sometimes she'll put words, or I see the words, and this word was adjustments. And I said, okay, what are we going to do with that? And here's how she then took off on her message. She said, adjustments are necessary when things need to be realigned, straightened, refined, or redirected. Adjustments in your life realign you to new ways of seeing. The need for an adjustment means you are learning, growing, and expanding, and it is time to reassess the old ways of thinking. It is with the thought that adjustments are not needed that you enter into the ego's way of thinking. Life is meant to expand you in all directions, and adjustments need to be made to the old ways of thinking and the old ways of behaving to ensure a good fit. Are your beliefs in a box, on a shelf, never to be examined again? Take them out, try them on, and see if they need to be readjusted. So that was my final message with you on my podcast from Leonini. And here's the excerpt that I would like to share with you from my book, Encircled by the Light. Fantastic. And again, both my books are available on Amazon and even in the ebook version. I have spoken a lot about limits. When it comes to any limits of spirit, I refer back to Wayne Dyer's quote, "With God, all things are possible. What does that leave out?" That is why, with this book, Robbie and I have tried to tear down the walls and flatten the boxes that confine us by using the stories of fairy tales to reintroduce the miracle and power of the divine. As magical as it sounds, that power, your power, is just waiting for you to rediscover it. I do not impose limits on the orbs or on spirit. Who am I to say what they can or cannot do, or what is or is not possible? We as humans seem to like to put things in a box, to say we know everything there is on that subject, and there is no room or desire to learn anything new. The power of the spirit world is available to all who look, and for all who want to serve humanity and spirit. But it's like my favorite futurist Nikola Tesla said, it's hard to give limitless power to limited minds. So we come to the end of another adventure together. As promised, we met dragons and knights, unicorns, fairies, and leprechauns. We traveled to faraway lands and experienced the magic of long ago. We met celebrities and warriors. You even had a geometry lesson. All of this was made possible by the remarkable orb phenomenon. My deepest gratitude is extended to you for taking the time to accompany me on this adventure, and I hope you enjoyed the ride. You know, one of my missions, and tonight I think with all the messages that I read to you, was to just get you to think about maybe that is possible. Maybe there is something else to this life, to our mission, to who we are. Because as I've told you before, I'm not an expert. Um, I've only shared my experiences and the knowledge that I've picked up along the way. But my missions, and Robbie's told me this, is to pique your curiosity, to start you on your own mission, and to get you to do the work. Um, it's not an easy path. I will admit, I've been open to ridicule, but I trust spirit, and I know, because I do cheat a little bit because I work with my son, that I will be taken care of. Robbie told me once when I first started on this path, he said, "Mom, never defend your work, because if you're in a position where you have to defend it, you're talking to the wrong people. So graciously turn and walk away. And if you defend your work, that puts you on the defensive." So when you start on your journey, however much you want to make public or however much you want to um, do internally, that's not important. The important is that you're doing it. And the rewards are incredible. What I have learned about the other side, what I have learned about the hope for humanity's future, what I have experienced in working with spirit has been priceless. And I wouldn't change that for the world, except, of course, if I could have my son back. But this has been his gift to me, and I wanted to share and unwrap that gift for you. I will continue to post things on my Facebook page. Right now, I am on a journey, and I just had a reading, and Robbie came in, and he talked about the numbers and how important the numbers are right now. In June, I had a reading, and Robbie said, "Oh, Mom, you're going to start getting numbers and orbs." And I think I shared a few on a podcast or two here. Well, that night they started. The numbers started appearing in the orbs. They had never done that before until he told me it was doing it. And since June, not every night, but a couple times a week, I get number of orbs with numbers, and not the same number, not just single digits. Sometimes they're 2 and 3 digits long. Well, in my reading, um, Tuesday, as a matter of fact, 2 days ago, Robbie came in again and he said, "Mom, you need to pay attention to the knowledge or to the numbers, and you need to study numerology." And I went, "Oh, geez, another assignment." But now, if you know me or if you've been following me, you know my mantra is math sucks. So I hate numbers. But I reached out to a numerologist who actually was on the show, Michelle Wynne Jones. If you ever want a numerology reading, I highly, highly recommend her. She is fantastic. But I reached out to her, and you only get one reading from her in your lifetime. That's it, one. But I reached out to her and I told her what was happening. And I said, "Michelle, I need help deciphering what's going on with these numbers. I don't understand them." And I said, "If I give you the numbers in the order that they appeared so far, would you maybe be able to decipher them or interpret them?" And she has agreed to do that. So we're working on that right now. So if messages profound, well, any message, all messages from spirit are profound, but I will share them again on my Facebook page, The Orb Connection, and keep you posted. I know the work is not done. I know as long as I'm on this side of life, I will continue to follow whatever it is my son wants me to do. I know he's told me he wants me to write at least 2 more books, one of which will be all these channelings. And the third will be the third in this series. But I need some time to work on that. So I again, and in conclusion, I want to thank you all. When I started this podcast, I was not well known. I did have a book out there, and I had done some things on YouTube and like that. But I thought, well, who's going to watch? Who's going to listen? And you all have been amazing. Your support has grown, and I'm so grateful. I really do thank you all for standing by me, supporting me, your kind comments, and um, and I'm reading it. messages as they pop up. And Julie mentioned, and I'll just tell you for this, she says, maybe you can bring back your visits with Robbie. Uh, Before I started this podcast, Robbie told me he wanted me to do a series of messages with my friend Marty McCrae, who has also been on my show, and she's a channel. And Robbie wanted her to channel him live and bring forth his message. And we did, and it was called Entering the Light Fantastic, Messages from Beyond the Veil. If you want to do that, I think we did maybe 15 or 20 of those. But Julie said maybe you can bring back some of the visits with Robbie. I'll have to check with Robbie, and of course I will have to check with Marty and see if she's game for that. Some of his messages, again, were pretty profound. You know, the knowledge that the other side is trying to bring forth and give to us. In Robbie's message, I'll just leave you with this. In Robbie's message on my reading 2 days ago, he said, okay, we're ready to take you beyond just almost mediumship. It's like you guys have the ABCs, the 1, 2, 3s, the kindergarten and first grade education now. It's becoming more and more accepted that yes, life goes on, that there is life beyond life, that we all know that. And are accepting of it. And because we have moved up to that, that spirit can now take us to the next level. So I think there's some amazing things that are in store for all of us. I think there are going to be some amazing people that we hear of. And I don't know about you, but I'm super excited. And Robbie's message to me the other day, he said, Mom, all is well. So with that, I thank you again. It has been a wonderful adventure. I wanted to thank Chris, my producer, and Own Times Radio for hosting me, and I will see you soon. Take care, all. God bless. Bye-bye.